Hello again, everybody. I hope this thing is working on Facebook today. Seen a couple people have problems. Hopefully, we'll get to knock this out pretty quick. Today, I've got Forge from the X-Men on the table, and got a little bit of sneak peek at Nimrod back there as well. It's from the original Bishop timeline where Forge was actually introduced. And where Forge helped build the time machine that Bishop ended up coming back to the modern timeline of the X-Men from, or two in this case. It's right at that point where Nimrod is busted in, and we see Forge at his mercy as Bishop's over here hitting on the glass, which in the actual comic book there wasn't a glass. It was a kind of a couple of different mechanical receptacles that were making a time machine wormhole, basically. And in the original incarnation, I just did this way so that he would be trapped, not able to interact as he went into the future. So, because for any sticklers, any hardcore fans, uh, you'll see the issue where this costume wasn't actually invited for Forge to wear until later on, after he'd already gone into the past himself to inform Bishop that he had changed the past, which is where they both got stuck because their future didn't exist anymore. Yeah, hey Matt, how's it going, man? Yeah, I totally agree. Forge was an underused character. Um, he was used pretty harshly through the 90s, though. A lot of people don't realize that, but he was used pretty bad through the 90s. He was the go-to spoof character. He and Bishop both were, and they would constantly be in peril of some sort from some timeline disease or, some outcome that was just strange. Forge was even forced to fight Dracula at one point when Marvel's version of Dracula came back for uh, Storm after he got released, which nobody had seen. Nobody had seen that character since the '80s when she was turned in the classic style uh, spinoff in the X-Men classics. Nobody had seen Dracula in the Marvel mainstream forever. And we're talking like Transylvania Dracula. And it was just wild. And he had to end up staking him. They didn't get to trap him that time. They had to actually end up with Forge staking him. So it was weird. They put him through some serious trials over the years. So, but yeah, this character is one of my absolute favorites from the modern X-Men, and I wanted to take um, that piece of the storyline and that piece of the history of the character and make it into something really cool. I mean, I know this card's kind of depressing in comparison to the other stuff because it's not the hero winning, but for anybody that's down and out about it, understand that when he got zapped as Bishop left, that incarnation of Forge was also reset when he went back into time. So don't sweat it. He's still here. He's fine. And I'm using a little bit looser animated style than I normally do. Not quite as refined. I'm playing around with this one a little bit. I just don't want everybody to get bent and think I'm having a bad day or something. It's just this sketch card, I'm keeping it light because the mood is just horrible for the concept of the story being told in this shot. A lot of people would want to build it out and make it, really spectacular and whatnot. And I'm not below that or above that. It's just for time constraints this late in the day, I just really wanted to be able to knock it out for you guys and make a really decent card in a timely manner. But yeah, this character's awesome. I wish they would use him more, but as I've seen as of late, I'm not even sure if he's in the comics anymore. I see him once in a while in the X-Men stuff, but I don't keep track of it enough to know. Unfortunately, for one, Marvel's, as we discussed prior, Marvel's made changes to where I'm not exactly up on all their stuff. I try to keep up on it as much as possible, but they changed the storylines around so much I don't get to keep up with it quite like I wanted to. Or definitely not like I used to. Keep this wide open because I'm giving him that vest style suit that he had back in the day, and that massive X belt that he always wore. Even in the future, he wore that belt. Everything else was tattered on him, but he kept that belt pristine because he was an X-Men, period. I always thought that was neat. Because he would go off and, yeah, I'll go all Opie there for a second. It was neat! But, yeah. He had an absolute pride for being an X-Man. And we're knocking this out fairly quickly here. This will all be blacked out. And I'm going to turn it here and get that. And I apologize for being late today. I ran a little behind, and then when I got set up, right as I flipped the camera on to set the preview, my neighbor, which is very, very nice to me, and I don't want to mess with, started his lawnmower. So I had to wait for him to finish. His yard crew popped up right as I got settled in. So I decided to wait a little bit and let them do their thing and not hold them up. Because he would have had them wait for me. I know he would have if I'd have asked, but no. They got there first, so we left it alone. But putting in the old band here for the classic ponytail. And I don't understand Forge's interest with this one. I don't know. Maybe one of you guys can tell me why. Normally, I'm up on instant trivia like that because, and I call it instant trivia because that's normally stuff that would come out in an instant. You either know it or you don't. Um, Maybe one of you guys can tell me how this happened because he's got this long ponytail back here. But all of this, if you notice, everything you see about him in any incarnation, he's always got short cut hair, and then he's got this long ponytail right off the back. So I'm not sure how they handled that or where that came from. I don't know if that was a Will Spatasio or a Jim Lee thing, or you know, uh, maybe Mark Silvestri came up with it. I don't know. Because I think Jim Lee did that in the revamp, but I'm not sure. So don't hold me to that. So putting in Nimrod's face here. And you guys will see all this pop off in just a second. And I get my big freaking knuckles out of the way. And I shade that in a little bit. There we go. Yeah, he popped up really quick. There's the chest crystal, which was based off of. The funny thing is the story that I was told is it was based off of the Iron Man energy core, and I think that's pretty neat that he has kind of a Iron Man influenced thing going on here. But you never know. I'm gonna get these shoulder straps here because these are actually pouches on Forge because he carries his tool in the tool belt in these. He carries little gadgets and widgets and stuff in these. There comes that blue line from the famous yellow and blue tights. Yeah. Hey Tom, you made it, man. That's awesome. Okay. Cutting the corner of that chest there. And like I said, this was more of a leather style, so I'm going to keep it really light on the detail because I don't want to overwork it. And that's part of the reason I went with the animated look, so that I didn't over detail that when we worked on the face and the belt and all that. Because we know every time I say I'm going to keep it light, I end up rendering the daggum thing out, and it it never ends that way. It never ends there. I'm going to go ahead and do this with the 5 here and not switch over to the 9. So bear with me. Hopefully I won't break a lead and cut the card. There we go. Oh yeah. That's probably the biggest shadow on the entire card. But that's okay. Oh yeah, I wanted to give you guys a heads up when we're doing this. I am starting to populate and switch on this weekend my YouTube channel. You guys will be able to recap all these cool videos and all that good stuff, as well as a bunch of other unique stuff on there. Totally free, no charge, no nothing like that. I'm not pitching here. Just giving you a heads up. You guys can check out Brad Linder on YouTube and go from there with that here this weekend. That'll be up by Sunday at the latest. I'll let you know. If you're wanting to check that stuff out, let me know and I'll give you a link for it, so you don't have to go hunting it all over the place and whatnot. But it's giving a public view of the chance for getting to see what I'm sharing with you guys. So we'll go from there. But I thought you guys may like to know that. I don't know. It's like, we watch you here already, man. But yeah. Options. And it won't be the new stuff right away. It'll be a lot of the how-to training stuff I'm going to be doing is a series, so it'll be new. But a lot of the cards they may or may not be a lot of the stuff you've already seen. So, you know, save you some grief and disappointment there, as my daughter likes to call it, disappointment. But let's see, I'm going to add a little life to this stone here. Put a little pop on the bottom of that. He actually came out way better than I thought he would. I thought Nimrod was going to give me a problem, but that's pretty neat, actually. Now I'm going to get into this tube here. I'm going to try and keep this really tiny and clean. And we're going to, like I said, we're going to try and get Bishop to be screaming right there in the background and put in the wave and the Kirby crackles and all of that, because he's teleporting right now, so you know it's going to look like bubbles. And no, I'm not going to sing Tiny Bubbles. Put in the hair for the dreads there, since this one's so tiny. And we're going to put in those big red wristbands he likes to wear. Got a little thumb going on there, got some knuckles. Hitting the glass, back of the hand, and bottom of the nose and the mustache are going to run together, unfortunately. Got the eyebrows up, head tilted back, and there's Bishop in the background screaming, "No, don't zap him!" But going to put in some sad puppy dog eyes and shade in this very cool mustache going on. What I like to call the Clark Gable, just for a kindness reference. I don't like what some other people call it. To each their own. But yeah, put a little drop shadow right there. Blacken that out a little bit. Like I said, I'm not going too deep on this because I don't want to mess it up. And I want it to look like leather, so I want it to have as little detail as possible. Because it doesn't shadow very well when it's polished and smooth like that. So, we're going to cut that thick line right there across the shoulder so it looks like that. This torso area cuts off, and this is a softer, more malleable fabric over here for the traditional X-Men blue spandex. Now this I'm going to shade in a little bit. Pop out some more lead there so I don't cut into the card. And awesome. Detail that out. thicken that up a little bit so it pops. And down here on the underarm, we're going to go ahead and shade that in. Because remember, I only shade from one side primarily. I don't like to mess with, you know, the reverse and all that. And depending on the mood of it all, and I'd rather not mess this up. So, we'll put in that muscle right there on the forearm at that under edge to add a little light and that to contrast. And that's Nimrod's hip down there, so we're going to leave that alone because it goes right through here. There's the hip coming out, and that's the back end of him. So we've got that done. Now I'm going to detail up this headband a little bit, which is traditional Forge, plain and simple. Again, this is about as symbolic to me as the hair, the ponytail. It is just something he always wears. I don't know why. And if you guys happen to know, let me know. I'd love to know the detail behind that. But I think, other than cutting this in right here to look more like a full hairline, there we go. That works. Because he always has a little bit more hair than most. I'm going to shade this in a little bit and try not to muddy up the water. But after that, I'm going to call this one done because I don't want to mess it up and I want to keep it very simple and clean. Because this one will color up really well. Especially with the contrast of Forge and the color he has versus the lack of color in Nimrod. And that's Nimrod's other digit up there. So, okay. Now, I'm going to color this one from the outside in so that we don't kill that crease right there, that overlap. Alright. Very clean, very simple. Hope you guys liked it. Jeez, Matt. If you guys didn't see that post, Matt says it looks like he's asking himself, did I leave the stove on in the past? Oh, jeez. Okay. Well, this being done, we now have Forge in place. Oh, there I go. Leaving stuff open. Figures. I want to fill in that ponytail a little bit. I'll blame Matt for that one. Foul play, distracting the artist. It's your fault. But no, I think that's hilarious. But I'm gonna call it a day with this one because, like I said, if I keep toying with it here, I'm gonna keep building this out and it's gonna get all wonky. But yes, that's an official term there. It is a technical term. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it. We have Forge. And tomorrow, oh, jeez, I forgot about that one. Tomorrow is Archangel. Another X-Men. No, this next few is, they're not going to be total X-Men. We're going to switch over to some of the other characters. Let's see, we've got Archangel tomorrow and Saturday evening, because I'm going to be running a little later on that one. I've got Colossus, and then after that I'm switching over to Deadpool, and early next week we've got Mary Jane, and we're going to do a couple after that. So you know, we are still running along here and knocking these out, and like I said, as long as you guys keep watching and liking them, we're going to keep doing them. So yeah, I'll give you a few ahead there, that way you guys can check it out and know what's coming. And I appreciate it as always. See you tomorrow.